Do not hire the idiot. Yes, I'm aware. This is kind of a no-duh statement, but it's story time. Years ago, I worked for a company that hired a very high-level executive in the organization. I think it was a friend of a friend type situation. He was a smooth talker, like great to have conversations with, a friend to everyone, but very incompetent whenever it came to doing the thing that he was responsible for leading. Now, over time, he ended up being exited from the company and oddly enough, finding a COO role somewhere else, which still boggles my mind at how incompetence can continue to rise within organizations. That's a story for another day. But look, we all make bad hires. It happens. In business, you can't get all of them right. But if you hang on to that bad hire for too long, it has such an incredibly powerful detrimental effect to the company, to the team, and to morale. And it's actually extremely expensive. So I understand wanting to make a lot of interviews to make sure you get the right fit, but whenever you start interviewing people, spend some time with them, make sure that they are capable, competent, and qualified. What do you do when you make the bad hire? Well, there will be signs. You have to, and probably will, recognize very early on that this isn't the right fit. This will come in the form of rumblings from people on the team, people out in the business, little snide comments, and usually people are pretty nice and like, oh, well, it's taking a little while for him to pick up on these things. Well, we'll give him a little bit of time. In my experience, when you hire the right fit, usually within a couple of weeks, they can wrap their head around everything and start moving forward and moving things in the right direction. But if they come in and people are immediately thinking, ooh, what have they done? This was a mistake. You have to figure out how to do something. When you get to that point, you cannot ignore the situation. You have to act on this. You have to start addressing the issues or challenges immediately. Now, I'm not saying that you want to fire them and get them out the door. You have a responsibility to start coaching them and supporting them and giving them every opportunity to navigate through this challenging situation. Because the reality is, you probably hired them from another company, and if they come in and aren't a good fit because of your lack of due diligence during the hiring process, then you kick them out on the street. That's not a good look. We don't want to do that. So we want to be able to support them. And that probably looks something like having conversations with other people in the business. What are the actual issues? What are the things that he or she are not picking up on? And then giving them the tools necessary to succeed. Now, over time, if after investing a lot of energy into lifting them up, they still don't get it, eventually you are going to have to make the unfortunate decision to move them out of the organization. If you do not, morale is going to start doing this. All of your high performers are going to get fed up and frustrated and, quite frankly, tired of carrying the weight of this bad hire. The last thing you want is for your high performers to get fed up to a point where they end up leaving. Because over time, mediocrity will start to reign. If all you're left with is mediocre employees that are coming in and kind of half-ass doing things and not really moving the business forward, not getting projects across the finish line, it's not good for anybody. And your business is going to feel it. It's going to become increasingly costly because you are going to then need 10 employees to do what 6 or 7 high-performing employees could do. And what does that mean? Additional cost, additional budget. Not a good look. We have to make sure that as soon as we understand what the issue is and we have done everything we can to lift them up, that we then take action and are able to exit them from the organization. Okay, so you brought in a bad hire, they weren't a good fit, now they're no longer with the organization. What is the next step? Well, we have to prevent it from happening again. How do we prevent this from happening? You ask better questions. I see a lot of instances where the hiring manager doesn't fully understand the scope and responsibilities for the role that they are hiring for. So they lean into other people on the team. And they should be leaning into the other people on the team and asking them, quite frankly, they should understand the scope and the roles of the responsibility for that position that they are hiring for. That's not always the case. So you have to learn. If you make a mistake like this, a bad hire, the onus is on you to sit down with each member of the team and then ask them, hey, where did I go wrong on this? Because clearly I made a mistake. Let's make sure that we don't let this happen again. Can you share where I missed, what I did wrong? And then, as you start going through the interview process to fill this role, include some of the other people on the team. Give them an opportunity to interview them, to ask some of the technical deep dive questions that maybe you're not aware of. When you start involving them, they will have an increased sense of ownership. And because they have ownership, they are definitely going to give you the real feedback. If you start interviewing Jacob and you're good friends with him, but then you have 3 people on the team like, man, Sean, I know you're friends with Jacob, but he just doesn't have the necessary skills. You have to listen to them. The last thing you want to do is lean too much into your trust of Jacob because you're friends with him and then find yourself in another situation like this. These types of issues are especially challenging to navigate because most leaders are not comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. And all of these things involve having uncomfortable conversations. That's the role of a leader. There's an incredible book called Crucial Conversations. If you struggle with any of these things, go read that book. It might stress you out, but it is going to force you to take a mirror to yourself and better understand, how am I communicating with these people? What are the things that I'm missing so that you can have a better conversation and achieve better outcomes? You have to recognize what the issue is as quickly as possible. If it takes too long for you to recognize, it's a signal that you are too detached from the company, which you absolutely should be fixing. Then you have to act. These are the uncomfortable and crucial conversations. You have to act on this. It's not going to magically get better just over time. You have to do something about it. And once you go through these processes, you will be more equipped to prevent this issue from happening again in the future. These are things that new leaders should start learning skills around. The unfortunate reality is we don't always have a chance to hire and terminate and turn over and move through a lot of employees, especially if we're new to a leadership position. But being aware of what this process looks like is going to equip you and set you up for success as you start building and ascending in your career in the future.